The sound of running water stopped me cold in my tracks. Someone was in my shower, in my house, when it should have been empty. My daughter was at her mother's for the weekend, and I lived alone. Heart pounding, I grabbed the baseball bat from the hall closet and inched toward the bathroom door, wondering if I should call 911 first or confront the intruder. That decision changed my life forever. If you've ever had a moment that completely altered your path, stick around and hit that like button. And if you want more stories about how life's strangest moments can become its greatest blessings, subscribe to the channel now. I stood outside my bathroom door, gripping the bat so tightly my knuckles turned white. Steam seeped through the crack beneath the door, and I could hear humming, a woman's voice. The melody was hauntingly familiar, something my late mother used to sing. "Who's in there?" I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. The humming stopped abruptly. "Hello?" a woman's voice called back, sounding equally startled. "Oh my God, is someone there?" "This is my house," I said firmly. "You have exactly 10 seconds to explain yourself before I call the police." There was a pause, then a string of colorful curses that would have made a sailor blush. "This is 1422 Maple Street, right?" she asked, panic evident in her voice. "No, this is 1422 Maple Avenue," I replied, confusion replacing some of my fear. "Oh no," she groaned. "I'm so sorry. My friend Jen gave me her key. She said she'd be out of town and I could use her place to shower and change before my job interview. I just moved to town and my motel has no hot water." I lowered the bat slightly. Her story was either true or the most creative break-in excuse I'd ever heard. "Stay put," I ordered. "I'm calling the police." "Please don't," she pleaded. "I can prove it." "Jen Harmon, right? She works at Memorial Hospital?" I frowned. "There's no Jen Harmon here. I've lived here for 5 years." Another groan. "She must have given me the wrong address. I'm so sorry. Can you at least hand me my clothes? They're in the blue duffel by the door. I promise I'll leave immediately." I spotted the bag and cautiously pushed it toward the door with my foot. "I'm leaving it here. Get dressed and come out slowly." The door cracked open just enough for a slender arm to snake out and grab the bag. A few minutes later, the door opened fully, and I found myself face to face with the most embarrassed-looking woman I'd ever seen. Her dark hair was dripping wet, her face flushed with mortification. She was clutching her bag to her chest like a shield. "I'm Eliza," she said, extending her hand before awkwardly withdrawing it. "And I'm absolutely mortified. I swear I'm not a criminal. Just an idiot with terrible direction sense and apparently a friend who can't tell avenue from street." Despite everything, I found myself fighting a smile. There was something disarmingly honest about her. "I'm Noah," I replied, finally setting down the bat. "And this is definitely the strangest thing that's happened to me in a while." "I should go," she said, moving toward the door. "Again, I'm so sorry for scaring you." "Wait," I said, surprising myself. "Your interview. When is it?" She checked her watch and her face fell. "In 40 minutes. Across town." "You'll never make it if you have to find your friend's place now," I said. "Look, this is crazy, but why don't you finish getting ready here? You can use the mirror in the hallway. I'll wait in the living room." The look of relief on her face was worth the risk of letting a stranger, one who had already broken into my house, albeit accidentally, stay a bit longer. "Thank you," she breathed. "I promise I'm not an axe murderer." "That's exactly what an axe murderer would say," I replied with a small smile. 20 minutes later, Eliza emerged from the hallway transformed. Her wet hair was now styled professionally, and she wore a crisp navy suit. She looked like a completely different person, poised, confident, and strikingly beautiful. "How do I look?" she asked nervously. Like someone who's going to ace their interview, I replied honestly. She smiled, and something shifted in the air between us. I don't suppose. She began hesitantly, I could buy you coffee sometime? To apologize properly for using your shower without permission? I should have said no. I had a 7-year-old daughter, Emma, and a demanding job as an architectural engineer. Dating wasn't even on my radar since my divorce 3 years ago. But there was something about Eliza, her honesty, her resilience in the face of embarrassment, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled. I'd like that, I heard myself say. She scribbled her number on a receipt from her purse. Call me, she said, heading for the door. And thank you for not having me arrested. Good luck with your interview. I called after her. As I watched her hurry down the sidewalk, I had no idea that this bizarre encounter would be the beginning of the most important relationship of my life. The coffee date turned into dinner. One dinner became weekly dinners. Eliza, it turned out, had moved to our city for a fresh start after leaving a toxic relationship in Chicago. She was brilliant, a landscape architect with a passion for sustainable design, and had indeed gotten the job she'd interviewed for that day. The biggest hurdle was introducing her to Emma. My daughter had struggled with the divorce, and I was protective of her feelings. But when they finally met, 2 months after the shower incident, something magical happened. Do you like Legos? Emma asked suspiciously, clutching her favorite building set. Eliza's face lit up. Are you kidding? I wanted to be an architect because of Legos. That was all it took. By the end of the afternoon, they had built an elaborate castle together, complete with a moat and drawbridge. As I watched them, heads bent together in concentration, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, hope. But our path wasn't without obstacles. My ex-wife, Vanessa, was initially hostile toward Eliza, viewing her as a threat to her relationship with Emma. There were tense exchanges at drop-offs and passive-aggressive text messages questioning my judgment. You're letting our daughter spend time with a woman who broke into your house, she demanded during one particularly heated phone call. She didn't break in, I explained for the 100th time. It was a misunderstanding. And yes, I trust her with Emma completely. The truth was, Eliza was wonderful with my daughter. She never tried to replace Vanessa, but instead carved out her own special relationship with Emma. They planted a vegetable garden together in the backyard. They had inside jokes I wasn't privy to. And most importantly, Emma smiled more when Eliza was around. 6 months into our relationship, I came home from work to find Eliza sitting on my couch, her expression troubled. What's wrong? I asked, immediately concerned. I got offered a job, she said quietly. A dream job, actually. Designing the green spaces for a major sustainable development. My heart sank. Where? Seattle. The word hung between us like a physical barrier. Seattle was across the country. Long-distance relationships rarely worked, and I couldn't leave. Emma's life, school, and her mother were all here. That's amazing, I managed, trying to sound supportive while my chest tightened painfully. When do you start? I haven't accepted yet, she said, meeting my eyes. I wanted to talk to you first. Eliza, you can't turn down your dream job for me. We've only known each other 6 months. She took my hand. Sometimes 6 months is enough to know what matters most. We stayed up all night talking, weighing options, considering impossible scenarios. By morning, we were exhausted but no closer to a solution. Eliza left for work with a kiss and a promise to continue the conversation later. That evening, Emma found me staring blankly at the wall, lost in thought. Dad, are you sad because Eliza might move away? She asked, climbing onto my lap despite being almost too big for it now. I nodded, surprised by her perceptiveness. A little bit, yeah. I'd be sad too, she said solemnly. But you know what Eliza told me? Sometimes the scariest choices lead to the best adventures. I stared at my daughter, struck by the wisdom in her words. When had she gotten so grown up? The next day, I called my boss and asked about remote work possibilities. To my surprise, he was receptive. I'd been a valuable employee for years, and much of my work could be done from anywhere. Then I called Vanessa and had the most difficult conversation of all. "I'm thinking of moving to Seattle," I said, bracing for her reaction. "Not immediately, but maybe in 6 months, after the school year ends." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "You'd take Emma away from me?" she finally asked, her voice breaking. "No," I said quickly. "I'd never do that. I'm talking about a co-parenting arrangement where she splits time between both cities. It would mean changes for all of us, but you love this woman enough to rearrange our daughter's entire life?" The bitterness in her voice was palpable. "I'm not making any decisions yet," I assured her. "I wanted to discuss it with you first, to see if we could find a solution that works for everyone, especially Emma." More silence, then a sigh. "I need time to think about this." It was more than I'd hoped for. "Thank you," I said sincerely. When I told Eliza about these conversations, she was stunned. "You'd consider moving to Seattle? What about your job? What about Emma?" "My job is flexible," I explained. "And as for Emma, we'd figure it out. Vanessa and I would work together to ensure she has stability. It wouldn't be easy, but families come in all forms these days." Tears filled Eliza's eyes. "You'd do that for me?" "For us," I corrected her. "Because what we have is worth fighting for." That night, as we lay in bed discussing possibilities, Eliza suddenly sat up. "Wait. What if I don't take the Seattle job?" "But it's your dream position," I protested. "No," she said slowly, as if realizing it herself. "My dream is to do meaningful work that makes a difference. And I've been thinking, what if I started my own firm here? There's a growing interest in sustainable landscaping in this region, and with my experience. Could you really be happy with that?" I asked, not wanting her to sacrifice her ambitions. Her smile was radiant. "I'd be building something of my own, in the city where I found you and Emma." That sounds pretty close to perfect. 2 weeks later, Eliza turned down the Seattle position and began laying the groundwork for her own landscape architecture firm. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. I supported her however I could, from helping with business plans to simply believing in her vision when doubts crept in. And remarkably, Vanessa began to thaw. Perhaps seeing Eliza choose to stay for our family helped her realize this wasn't a fleeting relationship. Gradually, the tension at handoffs eased. Eventually, they could even exchange pleasantries without the air crackling with animosity. 1 year after our unusual first meeting, I took Eliza back to the bathroom where it all began. I'd filled it with candles and flowers, and as she stood there laughing at the absurdity of it, I got down on one knee. "Most love stories don't begin with a baseball bat and an accidental break-in," I said, pulling out the ring I'd been carrying for weeks. "But I wouldn't change a single moment of ours. You walked into the wrong house but into exactly the right life, mine and Emma's. Will you marry me?" Through tears of joy, she said yes. Our wedding was small but perfect. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, beaming with pride in her special dress. And in a gesture that moved me beyond words, Vanessa helped Emma prepare a speech for the reception. My dad was sad for a long time, Emma told the gathered guests, her voice small but determined. Then Eliza came and made our house happy again. She's not trying to be my mom because I already have a mom who I love. But she's my Eliza, and that's just as special. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Life isn't perfect. Eliza's business has had ups and downs. Co-parenting still has its challenges. We argue sometimes, like any couple. But every morning when I wake up beside her, I'm grateful for that strange day when I came home to find a beautiful stranger in my shower. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful journeys. Our story taught me that second chances come in the most surprising packages, and that family isn't just about blood, it's about who chooses to stay and build a life with you, even when it's complicated. If you're watching this and waiting for your own unexpected miracle, don't give up hope. Love finds us in the strangest ways, often when we least expect it. And if you enjoyed our story, please like this video and subscribe to hear more tales of how life's most challenging moments can become its greatest blessings. Because sometimes, the wrong address leads you exactly where you're meant to be.